Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the first episode of The Dojo, the show where I teach you how to play as Mortal Kombat X characters while providing my voice as commentary. Today we'll be looking at the bow staff-wielding Shaolin monk, Kung Jin, buddy on the left with the ponytail. He is a deadly combatant at all ranges, and is a very good choice for somebody who really wants the advantage over most of their opponents. But they'll need to learn how to play as him first, so we'll have a look-see after this intro.
The scholarly Earthrealmer.
Knowledge is power.
Not power enough.
Round 1. Fight.
In the ancestral variation, Kung Jin gains several new ways to fire his arrows, particularly from the air, as well as being able to change his arrows' properties, allowing them to have different effects. The fire arrows knock down and do crazy amounts of damage. The freeze arrow does exactly what you'd expect, freezing opponents in place, allowing you to get a free hit in. And the purple arrows are vampire arrows, draining the opponent's meter. Sadly, it does not transfer directly to you, but it's still a handy technique due to the fact that it drains the opponent's meter, preventing breakers, X-rays, and EX moves from happening.
Round 2.
Also worth noting is that Kung Jin can fire his arrows normally, like in all variations. It's just in this variation he has the ability to fancy things up a little bit. I personally like to use this variation with the stun arrow a lot in order to get long, high damaging combos. But some combos might be harder to land if you have an opponent with at least 2 bars of meter, which is where the vampire arrows come in. You can switch between these arrows on the fly actually, so you can drain the opponent's meter with the purple arrows, then switch to freeze arrows and get a combo going. Emphasize on range and using different kinds of arrows for different kinds of situations, as well as using forward X to give you enough time to set up for these arrows, and you should be able to pull off this brutal fatality courtesy of Kung Jin. Ever seen a triple headshot? Now you have. Good shot, Kung Jin.
Kung Jin wins.
Fatality. Sorry.
The time has come
To face you in Mortal Kombat?
to teach you respect.
Round 1. Fight.
If you feel Ancestral's not your bag and prefer to get up close and personal, then look no further than the Bojutsu variation. This variation emphasizes more, Bojutsu, seeing more staff combos and the ability to pop up opponents in order to get combos going. He also has a special 3-hit combo that can either hit mid or hit low in order to confuse your opponents. Mix this up and your opponent won't know which way to block. Suddenly you might be going low, but then wait, why are you low all of a sudden? I can't block this. That's what makes Kung Jin ridiculous. He is a very up-in-your-face character here, and is not afraid to take risks. He does have several universal options, like the dive kick, which synergize really well with all of the special moves that Bojutsu provides. However, I personally don't really like this variation too much, as the pop-up does have a lot of what I call damage decay. You know, when a combo drags on for too long and your hits do less damage over time. I should also quickly point out right now that when I say forward or back, I'm referring to which side of the screen you're on. Forward on one side of the screen could be right, or it could be left. It really depends on which side of the screen you are. Keep this in mind and keep up in your face, and you'll be able to unleash this killer fatality on your opponent as Kung Jin. At the end of the match, of course. 3 points. Kudos to you.
Kung Jin,
Hello, Tanya.
I'll beat a warmer greeting out of you.
Round 1. Fight.
It can be a little bit daunting to pick up a new character, especially one like Kung Jin, whose variations change up how he plays so much. Ancestral emphasizes on range, but then Bojutsu emphasizes so much on close-range combat. Where can I get a good mix between the two? You might be thinking. Well, Shaolin is where you get your good mix. Shaolin allows you to combo really well up close and personal, especially with the chakram used in a couple of the universal combos available. However, it can also be used as a secondary projectile that hits low, unlike his arrows in all other variations instead of ancestral. This allows him to hit low at range, which is critical if your opponent is blocking a lot of your arrows. Worth noting too is that it, when meter burn, has boomerang properties and can trap the opponent, allowing you to keep a fierce combo going for increasingly large uses of meter. I do have a 19-hit combo with this, but it requires all 3 bars of meter. So I don't recommend using it in all situations, although if you want to get flashy and really make your opponent mad, I highly recommend you drop the following combo coming up here. Worth noting, though, is that 1 or 2 of the combos here are exclusive to Shaolin, but otherwise all of the combos, like in Ancestral and Bojutsu, will be universal. And really, aside from the shock room throw and a variation of the pogo stick kick that sends Kungjin flying in the air, it's not really that big of a deal. A lot of the things are going to be very similar. Now, Kungjin has 6 different brutalities. I'm trying to land one here while waiting for Tanya to hit me to build some meter. Because if I land 3 cartwheel drops, that's down back circle, at any time in the match, and then kill Tanya with a meter burned cartwheel drop, that's adding the block button to it, like this, good lord, she's exploded. You may want to save this one for later. Of course, you gotta save it for the end of the match anyways, but what does that really matter?
Mr. Cage,
What's the good word, Jin?
beatdown's a good word.
Round 1. Fight.
Kungjin is a character that's very flexible, being able to tag opponents at range, or right in their face, or somewhere in between, especially depending on the variation. However, you can beat Kungjin if you focus on the weaknesses that are exploitable. For example, in Ancestral, I need to be really far away from my opponent in order to keep things working really well. Of course, I could keep up close and personal, which is why Ancestral is one of the most balanced variations, but if you decide to keep up close and don't hold back, especially if you could reflect my arrows back at me, like Kenshi or Katana in her Royal Storm variation, I'm in some trouble because I can't zone you out. In Bojutsu, just keep it in range. It's going to be difficult for me to land my pop-up combos if I can't hit you now, is it? Shaolin might be a little bit trickier as it has balance between the two. But if you can beat this variation, then just emphasizing one trick or another can help you beat the other 2 variations. Kungjin is tough, but he's not unbeatable. Don't be afraid to research his attacks, and if you learn how to play as Kungjin, it's the ultimate way to learn how to beat him, because you'll know exactly what the weakness is. Oh, and by the way, if you've ever felt stabbed in the heart, I know it's really painful, but Kungjin can make you feel that pain quite literally. Don't you understand though, Johnny Cage? Yeah, I thought so. Let me know what you thought of this episode of the Combat Dojo. Feel free to like and subscribe to this channel where I post more Mortal Kombat videos, including Fatality Fridays and maybe more the episodes of the Dojo. DFDBA.